All right. Thanks. I was cutting Walter off. He should be mad at me. Actually, he's in Mexico right now. He and his wife spend January in Mexico. That doesn't suck, right? That would be nice to do that. All right. Thanks everybody for being here today. I think BB should be kicking in. He was in here earlier, and he's unless he fell asleep. I'll be doing it myself. Thank you for everybody joining me today. I do have my new course on sale, half off, for the creative pentatonic, or pentatonic creativity. Yeah, I forget what I named that. That's so funny. It's the minor edition, and it's how you can use your pentatonic scales to enhance your blues playing or to work in your funk or your jams, funk tunes, jam band tunes, but it does work in blues as well. So it's not just something for those other styles of music. And I have a minor blues course coming out next few months, and this would be a really great way to get into that as well, starting to figure out how we can use different minor pentatonic scales to get different sounds, and then we can apply those to the blues. So, all right, those thanks to everybody who's here today. Does everything sound good? Everything seems like it looks like it's good. Super cold in New York. I think it's cold everywhere. It's good times, right? First snow in New York in 700 days, which is kind of crazy because usually we get some snow, but not so much. But it is pretty cold here today. Okay, so BB's here. Thanks, man. I was contact BB on like a Wednesday morning. Hey, can you do today? I think he's kind of used to it by now, but I'm supposed to get all these things ahead of time and up there, like announce the live feed 2 days in advance. But some days my brain just doesn't work like that. A lot of days. Okay, so today we're going to talk about just different strats. I just was thinking about what I know people like the gear stuff, so I always want to get your opinions on what live feeds you like hearing me do. I like just I'm sorry, who had just mentioned Rick Beato's newest video. David Cromwell was talking about it. That Rick just did a video on this. I hope this is Jeff not quitting YouTube. I really just do videos and things that I find fun or what I want to talk about. If I tried to chase my tail on what's going to be popular, I don't know. It's too hard. And then I think it comes off that way. Like if I'm teaching something, for instance, the person I work with my channel, he was recommending I should do a video on this. I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea. And I started working on it. I'm like, I am so bored. This is going to come across as a terrible video to anybody who buys it. So yeah, I only like doing videos on things I like talking about. All right, so I do like talking about gear, and I thought it was really interesting. I've got a few different strats, as you guys may or may not know, and how different they can sound, which is really kind of interesting. People say, well, do you need that many strats? And however many strats you do need, I don't know. So they do vary wildly in sound. So today I'm going to be playing through my Marshall Super Lead. I went to that because it's just great sounding amp. It's got a little bit of breakup. The two rocks are great. If you want, maybe in the middle of the thing, I could unplug that. I don't have one of those cool amp switchers that I can just go to a different amp. I got to do that. But yeah, maybe unplug and plug back in. So, and I'm running into my aux, which is behind me, right there. And I'm using a Marshall 412 cabinet with a 421 microphone and a Royer ribbon virtually. And here's my 1964 Stratocaster. I'm also realizing I probably should have changed strings on this one. So, just also want to point out that I did in my Marshall video with you guys. Marshalls can have a great clean tone. A lot of people, I think, they just assume that plexis are super bright and painful and brutal. They can be if you want them to be, but that's not at all bright and painful. Okay, so yeah, the amp switcher, I got to look into something like that. It's just, it's so expensive, and how much am I going to use it? And it certainly looks cool. I know Corey, my friend Corey's got the big setup with the amp switchers and the head switcher and all that kind of stuff. I'll get there. One thing at a time. Okay, so I'm going to just play through as a Strat, right? So you're kind of hearing that. And this is through the Marshall, relatively clean. I roll back my volume. So now I'm going to kick on. I've got a dualist on the floor, a few other things. The dualist is going to be the tube screamer on top of that. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bump up the gain on the amp a little bit. I had it set for the next guitar, which we'll check out in a minute, which is a little higher output, which is really cool. So there I'm turning up the two volumes on the Marshall, the bass and treble. There we go. If I bring back the volume, that's kind of where I would have it, I would say, on a gig. Now, live for sure, I mean, yeah, this is live, but if I'm playing through a real cabinet at volume, it changes everything. The aux is really cool, but it's nothing like playing through a real amp in a real cabinet. So you're on a gig, that real stuff, you would maybe need less gain because you get the natural compression from the tubes and the interaction. So, you know, it's all trying to make it work, but it really comes down to playing at volume. I'll pick on that tube screamer idea. So now I can put on the blues breaker side. And then the two of those together. Yeah, right? Sounds pretty good. So that's just a Marshall, old school Marshall with the dualist pedal, and both those together. So a little bit about the guitar. It's a 64 Strat. Someone's asking about the radius. All these are 7 1/4. I would never change the radius on a vintage Strat. I've got 6105 frets. On this guitar, I have the tone knob hooked up to the bridge. And what that does is it allows me to kind of set up the neck pickup on the guitar. And when I go to the bridge, Maybe kind of, pull that tone back and kind of darken it up to kind of match or level those two out. I have no tone knob or anything in the middle. And a low dead E string there. Okay, so there, what I love about playing an amp at kind of the edge breakup is I can just roll my volume back a bit, and that really cleans it up. Okay, now let's try a fuzz. Now if I try the fuzz with the volume rolled back, which is the beautiful thing, pretty cool. So on those early Hendrix records, well, all the Hendrix records, he gets that great clean rhythm guitar sound, and then it's like on Foxy Lady when he suddenly goes, it comes into the feedback. It's just he's turning his volume up, or that's what it seems like to me, because when you get that fuzz, especially through like a loud, somewhat broken up amp. I don't like a fuzz into a completely clean amp because it can sound kind of buzzy, but a little bit overdrive in the amp. Neck pickup. Now the fuzz into the tube screamer. And that's kind of cool. You have to kind of balance it. You can get that real nasal thing, but what it can do, and Eric Johnson talks about this, is it focuses the sound of the fuzz to give it a bit more mid-range and pushes it forward. So apparently he uses those two together very often. You can kind of hear it. So here's the fuzz. And the fuzz with the tube screamer. And it gives that, so that I would have to kind of tweak between the two to figure out which way it's going to sound best. That is the Jesse Davey Kingtone Mini Germanium Fuzz. So just if everybody wants to know. All right, so let's switch over the guitars. See what we got over here. Let's check out. So this is my 1964. And we're going to jump ahead 4 years. To 1968, so it's a 1968 Strat. It's a refin, and a bit of a player's guitar. It's seen some time, but there's no tone knob on the bridge yet. sounds completely different to me. Both sounds like Strat. The 64 is much mellower, kind of woodier, and this is much punchier. Play a lot of knee today. So definitely more output on these. If you went back and forth, I'd turn maybe the gain down a hair on the amp. I think it sounds great. Rolling back down that volume. Oops. So it's a pretty great sounding guitars. Let's hear the Tube Screamer. And then we'll try the Blues Breaker. Much brighter neck pickup on that. Now the two of those together, so the Tube Screamer and the Blues Breaker, and the feedback, I'm sitting so close to the amp. All right, now the fuzz. That thing again. Fuzz. Pretty cool, right? So far there's those two. Let's do one more. So this is a 68. I think you guys can understand why I got this. Great fret job by my friend Holger Notzel. Put in 6105s. Also 7 1/4 radius. All right. And let's try Custom Shop Mike Landau Strat with change pickguard. And these are the Ron Ellis 64 pickups. Let's hear this. Bridge. Let's hear. And This is also 7 1/4, 6105. I really like 7 1/4. So now the tube screamer, or dualist tube screamer. And now the blues breaker side. Both of those. And the fuzz. All right. So what are you guys thinking? I got my thoughts, but oh yeah, one more bonus round. My brother's 1964 Stratocaster. I know. 2 1964 Stratocaster. Tone knob on that again. What's a comfortable on this one, guys? Tube screamer. Blues breaker. Both. The bright. And the fuzz. Out of tune. All right. So kind of hysterical in the sense of an embarrassment of riches at the moment. I'm certainly aware of that. So what are you guys thinking? I know what my thoughts are. So let me see what some of you guys have to say. So once again, thanks, BB, for being here. I see Jason Laughlin's here. If anybody, you're playing tonight, right, Jason, over at Skinny Dennis? I may or may not come out, depending on how cold it is. You know, it's cold. I know, lazy, I know. Do I deck my trems? Nope, all my trems are floating a little bit. So you can kind of, I'm on my cable, so what happens. So a little bit of a, let me go this way. A little bit of a float on there, on all of them. turn the volume. You can hear. Kind of like a whole step at least. I don't go crazy with the float, like the Jeff Beck thing. It's a bit tricky for everything else when it's really super floating like that. I find I can put out a tune too quickly if I go with that thing. What else? These all have a 5-way. The 68 does not have a 5-way. It's got a 3-way. It's the original switch. It's all original pickups. The only thing that's changed on the 68 is the volume knob. So let's get some more questions or something. Like no 5 position. You got that. Strange question about. Do you ever worry about the buttons on the back of your guitar scratching guitar? Nope, I don't care. It's my guitar as I play them. I don't care. You know, and the only thing I don't wear is like I wouldn't wear it anyways, but maybe like a big spiky belt. Like I'm not going to do something that's going to speed it along to that level. Anything that's going to grate the guitar up. But since I've had my 64, I've worn away a ton of the wood. I've just been playing it, so I don't really have a big problem with that. I don't care. You know, they're my guitars. Need the number 2 Knopfler position. Sure. This one. Here's a 4 on this. Now the video comparing these two 64s on YouTube, this is mine, and four. There we go. So it's amazing. That's the same year, separated by a few months. Sound really different. This has got I don't know what the wire is, the purple wire, and they're gray bottoms, and the other 64 has got the gray wire or something like that. Anyway, I really like the fat head and the Lando Strat, but as I said before, I'm a little hung up on that right now. I love the big headstocks too. It always reminds me of Yngwie and Richie Blackmore, two of my favorites. I love your 64 because it's a 64, but my 68 favorite sounding of the 4. It sounds pretty great, doesn't it? But I love about the 68 is it's like a rock Strat, whereas this is a bit more, warm. I have an AO 60s and an EJ. I feel like the 60 Strats are very balanced and the 50s are snappier. You find it to be the case? Sort of, yeah. Just because I don't have right now a Strat with an ash body. I do over there. Sorry, wait. They're snappier. So this is these are all mahogany. No, not mahogany. This is Les Paul. These are all alder bodies. Weight wise, these two are about the same, 7.5 pounds. These the 264s are pretty close in weight. The Landau is a little heavier, and the heaviest of the three, though still under 8 pounds, is the 68. But they all just sound big and huge. So it's fun to have them because I can choose between them. So Thomas More likes the red one. I like the red one too. NAMM, I will be at NAMM, by the way. I'm going to go next week, so I won't be here next week. I'll be at NAMM. Let's go back into some of these guitars a bit more. Definitely answer some questions if you have it. So let's go run through some of them a little bit again. So the things I love. So this is mine. What I love about this guitar, besides it being mine, it's my first kind of really great guitar. Well, that's not true. I've got some other. My first vintage guitar. What I love about this guitar is it's really dynamic. It's really expressive. If I did the video comparing my brother's Strat, the 64 over there, and this one, and I A/B them, they both sound amazing. And my brother at one point said to me, he's like, hey, whichever one you like better, because he's more of a hobbyist. You just take the one you like better. I mean, it's here for a while, but he's not playing it. And so I went back and forth, and there's things I like about both of them. But overall, I found this one suited my playing a bit more. It's a bit mellower, whereas his is a bit more front forward, a little more higher mids. It's got a little more lower mids. It's just a little warmer. Not to say that the other one doesn't sound good, but roll back that volume. Now, a great little guitar trick that most guitar players know is very rarely when I'm playing do I have the volume on 10 unless I want to get a real full-on punchy lead sound. I'm always going to just dial my volume back a hair. So let's hear the difference. Just like from on 10, I'm talking about 8 or 9. You'll hear it. Watch. See? It takes off. I hope you can hear it online. It takes off that real bright thing on top. So this is not new. Lots of guitar players do this. Mike Landau is a big guy player like that. When I had the Butter Machine, his new pedal, Vemram says that too in the book. Like, Mike runs his volume between 5 and 8. It makes a big difference in how the pedal will interact. Whereas I've mentioned before, like Robin doesn't touch his volume knob at all. So I usually have it rolled off a little bit. Bonamassa talks about this. A lot of my friends do this, unless you're going for the full-on, heavier sounds where you want that cut. But if I'm playing, right? Now if I'm going to bring it all the way, roll back that volume. You find that right spot. If you bring it back too much, you can lose some of that sparkle, which can be really nice. I find that's more, you hear it more with a real speaker, real amp. This is a real amp, but you know what I mean. Like in a room with a real amp, you gotta hear those dynamics much more than everything gets compressed through it's not real. It's not real. All right, so, but you can get the idea. So roll back the volume. Even if I put on an overdrive, see, it just takes a little bit of that hair off the top. So you hear that difference just by rolling back the volume a little bit. I do have a buffer on the floor, which helps with some of that roll-off stuff. Okay. Would you change the rose to an extra rosewood or maple if you'd like the Strat? And why no maple? I love maple necks. I have a maple neck Strat over there. Let's dig out the Tuttle, which is different. It's more modern. This is great. I'm not sure. Got 9s on this, the rock guitar. These are all Michael's pickups. And these are, this is a 10-inch radius on this one. That's a humbucker, that's not fair. So this guitar, I think it's sharing a volume pot. So I think it's a 500. So it's a bit spanky for the neck for me. I'm going to probably figure out how to work that out. But Michael makes great stuff. Now the guitars serve different purposes. Like this one's a rock guitar for me. I've got 10s, I've got 9s on it because I can kind of shred on it a little bit. And with the humbucker, and I really enjoy this guitar. It is ash and a maple neck. So I do really love maple necks. And I had a really earlier in my career years ago, many years ago. I had a custom shop Strat with a maple neck, and it sounded great. I loved the thing, but it was, before I knew, it was a curly maple neck, and it just changed. It changed. It warped every day. Every day I had to readjust that neck, and you have to take it off. It was terrible, so I got rid of it. But I do love a good maple neck Strat, and there should be one in the works somewhere at some point, because I'm a Strat guy and I want that sound. So I'm getting a 50s style Strat made, maple neck, ash body, two-tone, just because I don't have that, and I just love the difference in the sound of these guitars. All right, so do you want to go back to what do you guys want to hear me play more of? Let's try the red one again. It's new. And the red one, I got, I traded 2 Murphy Lab guitars for. So, people are like, you go to stores, you get relationships with stores, you find guitars you like. It's all about buying, selling, and trading. And this was at the store for a bit. It's got, it's not issues. It's a player. Like, there was a crack here. It's been fixed. It's been refinished back like an old refin. But, so it's not pristine, so it doesn't demand the price of a pristine 68 Strat. So. Now, this is going to sound much brighter. I think a bunch of things we're hearing. One is definitely the 68 pickups are much brighter, higher output. Also, there's no load on the pot at all. So, it's that bright because the pot isn't on there at all. And that was Leo's idea. You switch to that and you got your lead tone. It's bright. The problem is, as much as I like that tone for certain things, it's certain other things, it's a bit too head choppy. You're like, oh man. So I go to a nice neck pickup. Look at that bridge. Right. I mean, that sounds awesome, but that could take your head off with some volume. It's kind of falling a bit more into the telly territory, I guess. I mean, telly guys would say, no way. But you know what I mean? It's definitely that taking your head off thing. How do you deal with double stops and bridges when you bend? Okay, how do you deal with double stops, bend, staying in tune with the floating bridge? I just ignore it. Just bend them till they sound good. Hey, Ron Ellis is here. What's up, Ron? How you doing? We'll go back to your guitar and the guitar with your pickups in it too. And so this is. And one thing I love about this one, since it's brighter, this with the fuzz. Turn that gain down a little bit. Right? I just like the brightness of this guitar with the fuzz. This kind of reminds me of like Ritchie Blackmore. Really kind of bright, punchy thing. Now let's just go back now to the black one. Any questions, guys, or is this fun? Here's Ron's the Landau. So this is fairly new. I don't forget how many years old this one is. It's used. I didn't love the Fat 50s. They were cool, but I didn't love them. So I put DiMarzio areas in it because I did want a quiet guitar, and then I became friendly with Ron, and then Ron said, let's check these out. I mean, there's so much going on with the guitar differences too. I mean, there's stuff like pickup height, and guitars are so sensitive that, and I don't want them all to sound exactly the same. Okay, so we'll bring up that gain just that little bit. Right? I'm happy with all of them. Do you guys want to hear different strats? More strats? Let's hear some more strats. While we're at it, hold on. Let's hear the Yngwie, just so we hear that. Love the Yngwie Strat. I really like the pickups in this. And all the same licks. Yeah, hold on. The temperature has been, well, for everybody in America, it's been crazy. So, all right, so. Now these are 9s, and they got the scallop frets, and these are the Yngwie Fury pickups, which are quiet, and you know, with gain, there's no noise gate on this. Let's hear the fuzz. Now, not as cool with the fuzz, right? Maybe Ron, if you're still on here, I think these are not single coils. It's a humbucker. So for me, when I put any fuzz on a humbucker, whether it's a pseudo humbucker, it's a humbucker. It just doesn't have the same quality. It sounds great as a single coil, but there's just something about when I turn the fuzz on with this guitar, it doesn't sound as cool to me as it does with the other true single coil pickups. That's just my kind of feeling. But in terms of a noise-free, I really think these are great, especially with gain. You put on sort of an Yngwie-ish guitar tone, which I don't have really kind of dialed in at the moment. Sounds like Yngwie. I mean, my playing doesn't sound like Yngwie, but you know what I'm saying. Like they're really clean, they're really clear. I think they did a really nice job with these, especially if you want to go for something that works really well with gain and is completely quiet. So I think they're really great. All right, I got the curveball. Let's do the curveball. Hold on one second. I know. So, yeah, it's completely different. 2 humbuckers. So this is maple, and I don't have maple strat. Yeah, of course I have maple strat. I just think this is something else. So it's maple, and the body is ash on this. And these are Ron's pickups. These are Ron's LRPs. That's the Blues Breaker. tube screamer. And the two together. So one little trick that Ron told me about, and maybe he's still on once again, is finding a neck pickup on a Strat that doesn't sound a bit woolly for me. It can be a bit difficult at times. Excuse me. For getting over this cold. And so what Ron said is drop the pickup down a little bit and bring up the pole pieces a hair. So you can see I didn't measure them. I just did it by ear. I just brought them up where they were, a whole turn. And I'm getting a more high-end and more high-end attack that I was sort of losing with the neck humbucker in this case. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Sounds pretty great, right? So it doesn't sound quite like a Strat, but what I really like about this guitar, it's a Mike Landau. I traded a Klon for this and another guitar. So, but this is a kind of a magical guitar. And once I tried it, I just knew I had to have it. I changed out the Lawler pickups that were in here that had sort of like the mother toilet seat. They sounded great. These sound much better to me. And Mike has gone away from the Lawlers. I think Lawler makes great stuff, but in this guitar, it was when I put Ron's pickups and then the guitar really, really came to life, or became kind of what I had wanted it to be. So, all right. Let's see any more questions, guys. Got the Kingsley, this is from Alex Goland. It's got the Kingsley Harlot. Strat sounds great with it. Corey has one as well. Which travel board and Strat will you be taking to NAMM? Well, I have a Harlot. It's not here. It's in the closet. I really like the Harlot. I love Simon Jarrett's pedals. They're awesome. I'm not bringing a guitar to NAMM. I'm not playing, which is actually awesome because I'm just going to hang out and have fun and meet friends and hang out with my friends. Oftentimes, unless you're playing like a show, I don't love playing at NAMM because they call it like a booth monkey. And you're just there all day doing demos. I've done it. I did it for Line 6 many years ago. And it was grueling and it's loud. And I know I'm going to get sick again. They call it NAMthrax all the time, which is the joke. But I'm just going to hang out, see the guys from 2 Rock. And all my good friends are going to be there. So, and I can write it off because it's business. But most of the things that happened for me, that a lot of my really good friends and relationships with companies came from being at NAMM and being present and having a YouTube channel and doing some of the stuff I've been doing. But that was a big thing. I went to NAMM last year, and it was really way smaller. And it was like, wow, is this going to hang on? So I'm trying it again, see what happens. Enough of my friends did the same thing. I was like, I'm not going this year. PRS isn't going to be there. Gibson's not going to be there. Fender's not going to be there. All the big names, and everybody's like, forget it. And then as it got closer, people were like, all right, let's just go, because it can be really fun. I said mainly it's because my friends are there. It's just I can go all in at one spot in time and see a bunch of friends that I'm companies and people that I'm friends with. And that's when I was out there last. That's when I met Divided by 13 and Eli from 2 Rock. That's how I met Eli from 2 Rock, and I think that's how I met Vamaram, who makes some of my favorite pedals, and that's how I met, how I met your mother. I've never seen that TV show. Just I'm using the jerky guy thing. Okay. Will I be making videos from your channel at NAMM? Maybe a live stream? Definitely not. First of all, the internet in there is really terrible. Also, I don't know. It's fun, but there's so many guys doing NAMM videos. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work doing that kind of stuff and being on. And I also, these guys are my friends. I'll be like, hey, how do you do it on camera? Like, I'm not that guy, I'd rather have one of my friends be with me here or an interview as opposed to walking around NAMM and getting in people's faces and yelling. And most of the people are at NAMM, and people forget this. They're there to sell stuff. Like, the manufacturers are there to sell products to dealers and distributors. So, guitar players like, hey, what's up? Walking around trying to film videos and stuff like that, it gets really annoying. And like the guitar magazines do it. Like I know Premier Guitar always does it, and it's really loud and it's very difficult. And so, also the NAMM thing, like that is one crazy discerning audience. You're like, hey, you want to play? It's gonna be, I think it was one year. I was with David Grissom, and he and I were walking around, and we bumped into Josh Smith. He's like, oh, you playing? It's like the rock thing. I'm like, nah. And David's like, no. He goes, oh, come on up and play. Come on, just play with me. And I looked at David, and I'm like, I don't have a guitar. And Josh was like, you don't have a guitar with you? I'm like, no, we're just kind of walking around. And David said the same things. Like, I haven't played in days. I'm not getting on this. I'm not getting on that stage with him. So NAMM can be kind of like that for me, where I'm like, hey, come on up and jam with Andy Timmons. And you're like, I haven't played in 4 days, and whatever. So, what Ron Ellis pickups are in the black Strat? Those are the 64s. The guitar I'm getting put together, the 50 style Strat, are going to have his 50s, 60s. We're going to try those, and I'm going to try his 50s if those don't really pan out, which I'm sure they will. His stuff's really, really great. I don't have him in any sort of Telecaster yet, but I'm really very happy with his pickups. I'm also really throwbacks too. I think throwbacks are amazing. I've got them in some guitars. What's the difference between a throwback and a Ron's pickups? I found the throwbacks to be a little more. The ones I have, the SLE 101s, are a bit more rock and roll. So they were both sounded great. Just Ron's pickups were a little brighter on the front, or the transient note. Hair difference. Like some of my friends are like, oh, I like the throwbacks are more rock. So I guess it's where your head's at. And you can't go wrong with any of them. And I know they're not inexpensive, but they are worth it, I think, especially when you get kind of spoiled by some vintage guitars and you can hear what good old sounding pickups sound like. All right. Any more questions? What would you recommend noiseless pickups for playing live? I got to say the DiMarzio Virtual Vintage, or that's what they're, no, Areas. Virtual Vintage is the old one. DiMarzio Areas, I think they sound really good. I had them in the black Strat. I think it sounded really good. If you go back a few months in the videos, I think it sounds great. So if I'm going to the Czech Republic for a few weeks and maybe some other gigs in Europe in September. I might bring that guitar. Either I'll get that noiseless Illich thing put in it, or I might just take out Ron's pickups. Sorry, Ron. And probably put the noiseless thing. And if I don't have the time, I'll just put in noise-free pickups. And the reason why I will do that is because I don't know what I'm coming across on a tour. And there's been some rooms where they've been, there's like fluorescent lighting, and then you just can't get away from the noise, and you're trying to play a ballad and it's like going on in the background. I've had those situations, and sonically what you may lose, which there is a difference between the noiseless pickups and really great set of single coils. I find that what you lose is far outweighed by not having to worry about any noise. Just as I did with the Yngwie guitar with all that gain on, there was no sound. So that's worth it to me. I think the Areas are great. Those are the only ones I've experience with, because I used to work with DiMarzio for a really long time, and I think they seem like great stuff. The silent backplate is really good too. I have that on one of my Tuttles over there. But DiMarzio Areas. I can't remember the area lead in the bridge and something like the blues in it. I don't quite remember. I'm sorry. Just my friend Matt at 30th Street just put them in. He's like, I like this combo, and he put them in, and that was that. All right. I don't see any more questions. But I do want to point out. Oh, sorry, Jason Carter. It sounds a bit mushy to me. I wouldn't say no, of course. Yeah, the fuzz with the Yngwie is a bit mushy, and I think it sounds a bit more like, I think it's that humbucker angle to the whole thing. All right. All right, so I'm just going back. Any ebony fretboard Strats? No, I don't have any ebony Strats. I don't even know if they make them. Someone was asking why I don't have a lot of buzz with my single coils. How am I dealing with that? I am just on top of it, these are humbuckers. Hold on. I ride the volume a lot. I'm not playing with a ton of gain. Hold on. So I think the noisiest of all of them is this one, probably because it's the most high output. So I mean, it's there. So I just ride the volume all the time, right? And so some of that New York stuff comes and goes. But if I return on that, I mean, that's, and just on the side, I don't have any reverse wired middle pickups. I don't like the sound of them. When you A-B a reverse wired middle pickup where you get silent in 2 and 4 with a regular non-reverse wired, the 2 and 4 I think sound much cooler when they're all the same direction. Phase, I don't know. If I had one that was silent in the middle and went back between the two of them, there is a noticeable difference. And once you hear it, you can't get away from it. Also, I like the 2 and 4 positions, but not with overdrive too much. I know it's like Wayne Krantz uses it. Sounds killer with Rain. And a lot of Wayne, he did that because it was quiet. But so for me, I just don't love that sound for any kind of lead work for the most part, unless you're going for like a Knopfler thing, and it's usually clean. So I can't go to that sound on a gig for it to be quiet. And when I used to rely upon that, I hated it because I didn't want to play rock with those two pickups there. So if I bang this up, that's because I'm close to the amp. That's proximity. Even though I'm not that loud in volume, there's something going. I mean, this Marshall, if it were in the real world, I would be dead. My ears would be bleeding. I'd be crying. It's on like 10 almost. The volume 1 and 2 are on 6. It's all the way open. So that would be bone-crushingly loud. That would be Madison Square Garden loud. So it will still feed back like that. It's interesting when you get too close to it. Some of you guys who's smarter than me on amp stuff could explain. So I'm really totally enamored with this guitar at the moment, as you can probably imagine, because it sounds so good. Will you meet up with the Studio Rats? The YouTube guys, where are they? I thought they were from England. If I go to England, hopefully we'll meet up with Mick and Dan. That would be fun. I might try to do that. I've got like a family in Scotland and England and London and all that, so I should do. Since I'm over there, I should just make a stop and then go back. So I probably will end up doing that on the way back. Because on the way there, you want to get right into touring and playing because I want to be on my game practice-wise. You're visiting family, driving around, doing stuff you're not playing. But I don't know. I don't know where they're located. Do you have a holy grail of Strats that you're always keeping an eye out for? And maybe you found it already. Yeah. There's always something better in your mind. There's always a better sounding Strat. What I look for is a guitar that speaks to me in some way. And I hate to use the old Wall Street term of everything's for sale, but in a certain way it is. Like, my 64 Strat, if something amazing came along or somebody said to me, offered me some insane amount of money, I'd be like, all right, I'll find another one. I can't imagine that happening, because I love that guitar so much. But it's out there. Sometimes you play a guitar that just kicks your butt and you're like, okay, so I traded 2 Murphy Labs for it. It's a lot of, those were used, and I got everything. I think we talked about this a lot in the channel. Yes, I don't make apologies for having a lot of guitars. It's what I do for a living. But it also comes from lots of buy, sell, and trade. Relationships with stores. You have some cool stuff. I got a bunch of pedals. All these things, you just accumulate this and that. You put it all together. You trade that for a guitar. You got that guitar. You buy another used guitar, and then you find some store, something comes in like the Landau Strat, and I'm like, do you guys want a Klon? I know it's worth a ton of money, but for me, I'm going to use the guitar more often than a Klon. And there's things to me that match the sound of a Klon. So that was worth it to me to upgrade in my mind, or lateral moves or things that you're going to end up using more. So I know I've got a lot of guitars. The idea is not necessarily to collect them, but when something really good like this popped up, I was like, I don't know, that's a really nice Strat. And it doesn't sound like anything like my other Strats. In terms of like the 64 sound, I think I've got a pretty prime example, and I found every 64. My friend Holger does the work on my guitars. Most 64s that I've tried have been really consistently good guitars, which is really cool. So as you heard, my brother's is great, sounds different, but if that were my guitar, I would not be unhappy. They're both amazing. So, excuse me. I got a question about the DGT there. Do you raise all the pole pieces on both pickups or just some? Oh, on the humbucker and the Ron Ellis one, I raised them just in the neck pickup. I love the way the bridge sounded. I just wanted the neck to be a little more stratty. And I know Ron makes a pickup called the Bill Frisell, which is a bit more like a Strat humbucker, like a Strat sounding humbucker. But I don't, I wanted that guitar to be its own thing. So that helped bring up just that front end transient attack, if I'm using the right words. So, all right. Dazed and Confused, hi from Scotland. Hello from Scotland. Hello, Scotland. I've got family in Whitburn and Hart Hill. All right. The Rats will be at NAMM. Oh, cool. Will you meet up with the Studio Rats? I don't know them at all, actually. I don't. Does the Strat with two humbuckers compare at all to the PRS DGT? Okay, let's hear it. I got nothing to do. I know BB's like, I gotta go to bed. Hold on. So let's do the two humbucker guitars, the two humbucker guitars. The answers are really different, which is awesome. All right. So here is the Landau. This is a very unique sounding guitar. Don't forget, guys, I'm playing through a Marshall Super Lead. So some people think plexis are really harsh and stuff. And roll back to the neck pickup, sorry. And that's a bit... I'm set for a Strat, so I'm gonna roll back the gain a bit on the end. So it's not a single. Okay, so that's the DGT. We got the DGT. Hold on. Now the DGT is this has Ron Ellis's pickups in it, and I changed the wiring to make it make sense. Oops, sorry. So these are Ron's pickups. They made for me, a world of difference in this guitar and all the other ones. But for this guitar, I love the DGT. I love David's guitar. But there was just something that wasn't jiving with me, and I knew the guitar was great. We've talked about this guitar many times. And I put in Ron's pickups, and I was completely blown away at the change for the better for me. But if you notice, this thing kind of falls in the middle of that neck pickup, sort of stratty, isn't it? Which I really like about this guitar. And also, It's got the maple neck. It's not a not a mahogany neck. The Lando sounds like a vintage SG. You know, it does sound kind of SG-ish, doesn't it? It's a light guitar. It's 7 pounds, 2 ounces. And I like it. It plays like a Strat, which is my favorite thing, as this does pretty much in my mind. It's a different scale, but it plays like a Strat. But it doesn't sound exactly like a Strat. So that to me is the best of both worlds. I find when I play a Les Paul, which I love Les Pauls, but all gigging with a Les Paul I find difficult. They're just they're kind of big. I'm just so used to the volume knob right here. So when I gig with a Les Paul, halfway through the gig, I'm like, oh, this sounds great, but if I change the pickup and I forget, and yeah. My whole life of playing Strats, I like things that are very Strat-like, obviously. Robert Starling, oh man, he's in the house, man. What's going on? Good to see you. So don't forget, guys, my new course, Pentatonic Creativity, the minor edition. Show you how to play over a 1-chord minor vamp, how to open up your playing using the pentatonic scale so you're not just playing your same old blues licks, which of course can be mixed with blues licks and can be used over your blues guitar playing, but just kind of a way to hopefully spur on some creativity when you are thinking about pentatonic scale. You know, the most common scale that we work with, I always just associated it with blues licks for a really long time, and you realize that, like, oh, now that sound, that kind of Dorian sound, that's a different pentatonic scale. That's a pentatonic scale over the same chord. That was huge for me to realize pentatonic scale is just, it's a scale. It's not inherently bluesy. It's what you do with it. You just bought a DTT. Good for you, man. They're great. Okay, BB, no, a bit of work to finish off in the studio before I call it time for sleep. Overrunning, okay, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll do like that pedal shit, like the 2.5 hours. I won't do that. I got to walk my dog before it gets too late and too cold. It is too cold. Anyway. Is the volume knob in DT about the same place as in a Strat? Can you do volume swells? Yeah, it's almost exactly like a Strat. Yeah, it's right there. In fact, maybe a little bit further away, like just a hair, but in a good way, you know. I can use this on a gig, and I did play with Matt Schofield the other week, and I used my Les Paul, and I used this. I was much happier on this, but I think I talked about, I don't have locking tuners like this. I didn't tighten it down enough, so I bent my high E string, and it slipped like a quarter step, or like a whole step or something. So I was like, uh-oh. So I put the guitar down, but I was immediately totally comfortable with the guitar. It felt like I was just playing a Strat variant, which is great. Love the Fender noiseless. Work great for me in noisy clubs. Been using them since the 90s. I'm so used to them, no reason to change. Absolutely. If you know it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm completely all for that too. Like if that guitar sounds great and you're comfortable with those pickups, cool. Like I was talking to a friend of mine about delay pedals, and there may be more cooler delay pedals. I've been using an El Capistan since they came out from Strymon. There's no reason for me to switch. They put out a new updated version. It's great. I've tried other pedals that sound great, but on gigs I'm like, ugh, where's my El Capistan? Like I'm so used to it. I know what it does. I know it inside and out. It sounds perfect for me. So I just leave it. So same thing with pickups. If you love the way the guitar is, then don't go changing it. And especially if you decide to go to noiseless pick or noisy pickups and you're used to noiseless, that is a real kick in the butt. Because growing up, I only had like noiseless pickups for a long time, or humbuckers. And I remember like, oh, I gotta go vintage Strat. And it was pretty nightmarish the first gig because my playing was not designed around pickups that make that much noise. So that was kind of an eye-opener. All right, so do we have any favorites? So if you go back, they're all good. They're all good. So it's just kind of going through the guitars, but Desert Island, I don't know. I guess if there's just one, it would probably be my 64, just because that would be the thing, There's just got to be one. Also, I took out someone's asking about the coil taps. You just, when you compare the DGT, was the neck single coil tapped? I took those out. I don't really love the way those sound. Nobody ever does them really that well, in my opinion. They can be okay. I don't love them. PRS did a pretty good job in, say, like the 594s, but it still doesn't make it. It still doesn't sound the same to me as a single coil. Do I use different gauge strings on my Strats and which to use? I just use Diodario 10s on all my guitars. Whether the scale is a 7, a 9 and a, no, what, 7, no, that's this. 25 inch, 24 and 3/4, whatever the heck it is, or Gibson, PRS, Fender, I use 10s on all of them. I just feel comfortable. I like the way Les Pauls sound with 10s. I have 9s on the Tuttle and the Yngwie just because I want those to be a little bit more of a shreddy guitar, you know? And so that, to me, is a little bit easier to do on those two guitars. And I think they sound better. If I'm going to play guitar with more distortion, I think more distortion sounds better with with a lighter string gauge. That's what I'm trying to say, is we all kind of know that. The heavier the string gauge, when you use overdrive, it gets a little too many frequencies involved or too much low end. So I like 9s with heavy gain. I can't play 9s live. I'm just so not used to them. But here recording, if I'm going to play Yngwie stuff or shred on something, it's going to be 9s usually. The pickup height, Cacophony saying pickup height is crucial. Absolutely. I just do it by ear, honestly. People are like, oh, what's your pickup height? Do you measure it? I never measure it. I just go by what sounds good and I match them up. That sounds good. That sounds good. I can bring them up higher. That's a little too boomy. And I just do it by ear. And people want measurements. I'm like, I don't even know how you measure that properly. Single coils, just don't make sure you just don't put them too close to the string. That's big because they're going to start. They have a greater magnetic pull, and they're going to start to get the weird oscillations and boomy low end and all that. So, all right. Any more questions, anybody? Here's my wife seeing if I'm ready to rock the dogs. So, any more questions? So wait a minute. I know there's a delay. But I'm digging all of them quite a bit. I put Super V's mag locks in some of my floating trem bridges to keep the strings in tune during double stop bends. I had a guitar that had that tremolo, and maybe I didn't have it set up right. I'm sure it could be great, but it just felt a little weird, and I'm just so used to it. And when doing double stops and they go a little tune, I actually just push on my bridge a bit, hold it in place, so like, right? So I've just kind of gotten used to working around it. Like so. So you're just kind of almost holding that bridge in place. I would love to hear why you like the super lead. It's an old Marshall. It sounds like it's supposed to. Sound of rock and roll. So it's nothing like an old Marshall to me. I love my two rocks. I would say, I use the two rocks in the gigs. That's just too big, too heavy, too loud. I like having some reverb in an amp. There's no effects loop. It's an original. It's a 72 that I got ages ago, like ages and ages ago. Been lugging it around. It's too much. It's way too much. Super leads are also heavy, like on one side, like so you lift it up and everything tilts to this way. But they sound great. I love them. So yeah, the sound of rock and roll. But my main thing is when people are like, oh, Marshall, a lot of times people are thinking, if you plug into a new plexi and you crank it, it's very bright and strident and just don't like it. And I've heard lots of guys talk about this. And then you try an old super lead. And I got the bright cap out of that. It's one of the greatest guitar sounds to me. It's Hendrix, Clapton, all those guys. I use a GTM 45-100, but Clapton with Cream, I would never consider that, or any guys using Marshalls in the early 70s is having a bright, strident, painful guitar tone. And also, it's a great pedal platform. But in New York, that's just completely overkill, and I'm not lugging around a super lead when I've got a cool little two rock that sounds amazing, and has much more control over the amp as a whole. And, old Super Leads, they break, What am I going to bring on the road? Like an old amp or a new amp? I'd kind of lean towards a new one. Okay. I play in a cover band wherein I use Marshall set on the edge of breakup as a bass tone. We cover everything from the Beatles, some 70s hard rock, and you get, it's good overdrive to get. Yeah, they're just really organic and awesome sounding. The problem I get with them is if I like to use delay and reverb, and you can't have that in front of it, and then it starts to sound a bit fuzzy and weird and not so great, So yes, Jason Carter is asking if I ship merchandise worldwide. Yeah, it goes through Spring, and they do ship worldwide. I don't know how much more it costs, but they do worldwide shipping for sure. Okay, mini plexis on my radar. Those mini plexis are great. Those 20 watts, they sound amazing. All right, so I want to say thanks for being here. I know I'm ending up on a DGT, but in terms of the Strats, any kind of, any thoughts you have on that? They all sound, I'm being asked a repetitive question. I'm not getting into anything political on my channel whatsoever. I have very strong beliefs about everything, and all my friends who know me know exactly what I'm talking about. So I don't like talking about it on here because there's so much division going on everywhere that I think it's cool to be here and not talk about that stuff. So I'd appreciate not talking about that stuff here. All right, what's my favorite go-to speaker? I love a few things. I love Celestion greenbacks for the Marshall stuff. I really love the Two-Rock speaker, whatever. It's kind of like an Eminence. It's a bit of like Two-Rock does a really nice speaker. I like the 65s. The 65s. Those are really good. I like those a lot. Yeah, I just don't. I like the right speaker for the right amp, and also it really makes a huge difference in before you buy a new amp, change your speaker. Massive difference, like extremely. Like I don't really love deluxe reverbs with the standard speaker. You put a greenback in a deluxe reverb, and it's a different amp to me. One I like a bit. So, all right. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. Once again, we'll go out for this box. The red one, just for this one. Yeah, I'm kind of just digging this guitar so much. Now, that's super bitey, super cool. I might have to put the tone knob in there to be able to use as much. I'm gonna see if they have one of those ones that when you put it all the way up, it takes it out of the circuit. I think I might do that. I think, who's got that? Jesse Davies got that cool volume pot. I don't mind about changing the wiring on some of this. This has been changed. The guitar has been painted. It's been fixed. So I don't worry about, it's not all vintage and perfect. So it's a player. And that's where I would say to go for if you're looking for an old Strat. Like, it's right. I mean, but it's not right. You know what I'm saying? All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I will not see you next week. I'm going to be at NAMM. I'll see you the following week. Look for a video from me online soon. Thanks, everybody, for being here and listening to me blab about Strats. Thanks, BV. I appreciate it. And once again, my pentatonic creativity course, 50% off. See you guys. Thanks.